Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Thamriel. Welcome everybody to Final Fantasy XIV commentary. In today's video, I'd like to talk about whether Final Fantasy XIV is casual friendly and reasons why. Spoiler, it is. But as a casual player myself, I've been enjoying Final Fantasy XIV since I can't exactly invest a lot of time on every single day basis. I have university that I need to take care of. I also have the YouTube channel and live streaming. Nevertheless, in today's video, I'd like to cover roughly 5 to 6 bulletin points that I was able to put together regarding why Final Fantasy XIV is casual friendly. One reason I can think of is the game was ideally designed for both MMO and non-MMO players. One of the things they set up was actually the Novice Hall, which directly supports and directly helps out and teaches players in the game of several terminology, strategies, and how to play specific roles within the game for tank, healer, and DPS. It actually has a little bootcamp that you can go through and that you do at around level 15, and if you go through the bootcamp, you get a starter gear or you get a pretty solid setup gear for your class or your role that you're playing, and you also get a ring to boost your experience by 30%, and which applies to all classes, which is really good in case you want to try out different roles. And the mentor system was even designed in order to pair experienced players that are either good in tanking, healing, DPSing, crafting, or gathering to teach newer players of specific things on what to do and how to accomplish becoming an experienced player. Now, the mentor system has been a little bit concerning for some instances where on certain servers, the mentor system is actually used as a badge of honor that a lot of elitist players like to collect in order to parade around and say, hey, look at me, I got a little crown, I'm experienced in this, I'm experienced in that, and all the other new players are below me. While there are some mentors that do deviate towards that and being very exclusive, there are a lot of other mentors out there that are actually really inclusive and use the mentor system in order to help newer players get into the game. I'm not a mentor myself, but I do try to help out players as much as I possibly can as a player. We all started as new player in an MMO, and I've had a lot of help and guidance from experienced players in the past, and I just want to pass on the kindness over to other players as much as I can to help new players on Final Fantasy XIV feel more comfortable. In fact, one of my earlier moments in Final Fantasy XIV was joining XIV, the server that I play on right now, and being invited to a free company that was very willing to help me unlock dungeons, unlock raids, unlock trials, and everything else. In fact, they invited me in one night when I reached level 60 to go run Alexander Savage, and they needed a bard, and coincidentally, I was playing as a bard. I wasn't too confident in my skills, but I knew how to play songs in order to recover mana or TP, so I decided I would go ahead and go with them. Turns out I needed to attune to Savage and actually get Savage unlocked. Instead of replacing me, which I actually offered to do, I offered them that I would drop out so they could replace me with a bard or another raider. They went through the necessary steps and necessary quest lines to unlock for me Savage. It was a 30-minute effort that they did not have to do, but they still did it so that I would have it unlocked for the future. And I'm extremely grateful for the group and the static that helped me unlock that back in the day. It's very inspirational and makes me want to pass on the kindness that I received back in the day to other newer players as much as I possibly can. Another point of Final Fantasy XIV that I really enjoy is that none of the story content is going to be gated behind something extreme or something hardcore. The game will never forcefully tell you to go run Zervan Extreme or Alexander Savage. You have the option to run Alexander Savage or Zervan Extreme or Sophia Extreme or any of the Final Fantasy XIV primals, if ever, on Extreme mode or any of the raids on Savage mode that are available for them. You have the option to do so on your own in order to get better rewards. Now, the rewards you can get from running primals on Extreme are mounts and weapons and possibly some crafting material you can use for barding, but other than that, you have the option to go into those on your own. In order to complete any parts of the storyline or any part of the side quest for any part of the game whatsoever, you are not forcefully required to be thrown into Savage mode or into Extreme primals for any reason. There will be, however, some areas where you will get a quest to go run through and unlock a hard mode or dungeon, and hard mode of dungeons aren't exactly difficult. Sure, the dungeons are going to be a lot harder than the regular normal version counterparts, but they are set to being level 60 and they're set to players that are slightly better geared at level 60. It is not difficult to reach the item level necessary to accomplish these specific dungeons, even the 3.5 dungeons that came out recently through the story patch, but they do give you several great rewards such as item level 245 gear, which can greatly help players that are either leveling for their alternate professions or alternate jobs, while giving them the ability to explore some dungeons that will be done for the hard mode or dungeons that are set up an actual part of the story mode, which brings me to another point of plenty to do over at the endgame. At level 60, you have the ability to do Palace of the Dead, Aquapolis, Diadems, Raids, Primals, Dungeons, and PvP all at your leisure. You do not have to be specifically good at any of those things in order to learn how to do them. You just gotta try them, practice them, see if you like them. Personally for me, as somebody who plays pretty casually, I like running Palace of the Dead and Aquapolis with my friends. Recently, with the new update for Diadems, became very casual friendly and allows players to work together as a randomized group or as a prefix group, either within your free company or at random, in order to party up together and take on these vast open world raids. These giant open air raids where you can fly around, take on different creatures here and there, and possibly even get an emergency quest line, which will have you take on some pretty rough challenges, and just with enough amount of coordination, you might be able to be lucky and get yourself a really nice weapon. Controversy on that particular weapon and the diadem over in the card and in description below if you want to check out that. That is a topic of discussion for a completely different video. If you want to check that out, feel free to do so. But other than diadem, you have the ability to try out Palace of the Dead, Aquapolis, Raids, Primals, Dungeons, Crafting, and Gathering. Another great thing about this game is that it has a pretty linear storyline to follow with. And for somebody who is pretty casual and wants to not have multiple options to go to and wants to follow a particular track, this is actually a really nice incentive to get into the game. It has one particular main storyline, one particular main quest line that you need to follow through back to back and follow from quest to quest. As you progress throughout the game, you unlock a lot of the content like dungeons and raids, the ability to have a mount, the ability to join a grand company, through the main story questline. And as you progress throughout the main story questline and unlock all these new features and get taught, introduced to new content, you'll also be working on this very in-depth narrative for your character, as your character is taking part of the storyline, part of the Scions, and working against the Guardian Empire on this quest to unite the nations of Eorzea. And while the storyline may be a hit or miss with some players, it's still good to have a game that follows through almost like on a rails system. Making a very linear MMO is probably the best way to introduce casual players to something that they've never been introduced to before, or something for them to clearly follow along on the rails or on the tracks in order to get to the endgame. While the main story questline may be a hit or miss with some players, there is a lot of stuff you can do in order to break up the grind. You can try out leveling other classes, such as a tank class or a healing class or DPS class, go to other city-states at around level 15 for your main storyline, and explore other professions out there, such as battle professions, crafting professions, and gathering professions. If you count in all the classes available, including the crafting and gathering professions available for you, there's a lot to explore within Final Fantasy XIV. The best part is, whether you are an expert in a particular role or particular profession, or you are a novice, everything is easy to learn but hard to master, and that applies for every single class. If you're learning how to tank, at first it will be easy to learn and get a hang of it, but it will be challenging to fully master the class at around level 60 and endgame, and as you climb the levels you will start realizing the faults and the advantages of a certain class that you play. And as you realize certain advantages and disadvantages, your playstyle alters in order to make up for things where you lack with things that you are strong at in order to benefit your team or party. As a crafter or gatherer, you also have the ability to directly contribute to the quality of materials that you obtain or items that you craft, which is extremely important and extremely unique to Final Fantasy XIV. In games like World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2, I would simply acquire materials by pressing a button on them, quickly harvest them, and then press another button to put them together and slap them into an item. And while that's a very simple system, I love the fact that in Final Fantasy XIV, as a crafter or gatherer, you directly contribute with your abilities and passives and some of the buffs that you get for your current class. You can directly contribute to the quality of your own work. And the fact that you have the ability to directly contribute to quality of your own work changes and makes crafting and gathering so much more impactful, so much more meaningful, and I love that about it. Oh, just a side note, but when I mean quality of your work, I actually mean quality. Some things are of high quality within Final Fantasy XIV, so yeah, any kind of item with better or high quality will give you better stats. That's what I mean. The amount of work and attention that crafting and gathering professions especially have been given in Final Fantasy XIV is extremely satisfying, and if you craft and gather yourself, I would highly recommend trying them out. If you're not, there are plenty of classes for tanking, healing, and DPS for you to explore, and like I said, they're all easy to learn but hard to master. Now, there might be a concern that because you're not investing as much time as other hardcore players are investing, or you're not taking on more difficult content, that you're not going to be as rewarded. Yeah, running Savage on Alexander or doing Zervan Extreme or any of the Primas on Extreme does have its own rewards, but that doesn't mean you can't make your own progress. In fact, the game has multiple systems where you earn currency to get gear, actually get some really nice endgame gear that will directly contribute to you doing better in the game. Now, it's not like it's going to be instant, but the game has plenty of mechanics and plenty of systems that work towards playing catch-up and helping you play catch-up within the game and catching up to current day content. In fact, Diadem recently got released, and that was a whole controversy, but the fact that you can go into Diadem and receive some easy item level 265 gear, although maybe you didn't exactly put in too much work in earning them, and the stats may be randomized, so they may not be the best in slot gear for you, it's still a good catch-up mechanic for players that are coming back to the game and are playing for the 3 or 2 weeks before Stormblood is out. They want to gather a couple of gear, play with some people, play with their friends, play with a free company, and come back rewarded with some nicer gear so they can anticipate and get themselves ready to adventure and pursue Stormblood whenever that comes out. So from one casual player, casual scrub as I like to say, to another possibly casual player, this game is very much geared to a very casual audience. You don't have to be a hardcore MMO player whatsoever, or a Final Fantasy fan whatsoever. I got into the game because I wanted to find an MMO. I never was a Final Fantasy XIV, or really just a Final Fantasy fan in the first place. I didn't know much about the series, I knew nothing about it. But this game got me hooked. This game got me interested in Final Fantasy and other Final Fantasy titles. Now, I'm liking it. I love the fact that I can get on the game casually now that university is, almost ending and I'm on last semester, and make some sort of progress in the game. It feels good. It feels satisfying. Nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and leave a link in the description below to the trial. Sign up if you haven't tried the game yourself already. Do not worry, this is not a refer a friend link or some sort of referral link. I'm not sponsored or in contact with Square Enix about it. It would be nice if I was, but I do not feel like I need to be in order to promote the game, in order to promote players to try the game out. You can level and explore everything from the game for next 2 weeks up to level 35 for all professions, no matter what it is. Unlock multiple storylines, unlock multiple dungeons, unlock a trial, fight Ifrit, even unlock your first job if you really want to. Nevertheless, I'm gonna go ahead and actually wrap up the video right around here. Let me know your feedback in the comments below, I'd really appreciate it. Try the trial link if you haven't tried the game before. Hope you enjoyed. My name is StanRealX, subscribe and as always have a good day, and I'll see you all next episode of whatever I make. See ya!